So for all of my followers on here that watch my content related to my spiritual journey, I'm not sure if you guys have realized, but I've been really trying to put an emphasis on sharing the parts of my journey where I'm doing a spiritual ritual or whatnot, but I'm showing you guys more of the how I'm interacting with spirit, what words I'm speaking, and what those words are like doing while I'm speaking them. And that's because, I try to put an emphasis on the process of me connecting with spirit, how I do that, and how you allow yourself to walk through these certain portals and collapsing timelines and all that good stuff, instead of the emphasis on my downloads and just sharing my downloads with you guys, is because my downloads, yes, might bring you some kind of aha moment, but you're gonna get much more of an light bulb moment when you go in and you talk to source and spirits yourself, because no truth is greater than your own that you hold within you, because we're all one. And so when we're connecting with spirit, we're connecting with the one consciousness, and I want you guys to be able to learn how to do that for yourselves, just as I learned how to do that for myself, so that you don't depend on any other reader or energy worker to do the work for you, but you get to do the work for yourself, and then you can help others. So what do I want to get my point across with this? Okay, so language is very important. Sometimes I feel like language is more important than the intentions that you put behind some things. Okay? Because your intentions could be that you want to have a great life and you want to succeed, you want to have a career, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to be a fucking billionaire, right? But if you aren't speaking those words into existence, and instead you're speaking words of, I'm stupid, I'm never going to fucking amount to anything, or if you're constantly saying sorry, or people pleasing, or putting other people's needs above your own, you're not going to get there. I'm sorry, but you're never going to get to that billionaire moment if, even with the intention of being a millionaire, billionaire, whatever, you want it so fucking bad, right? It doesn't matter how much you fucking want it if you're constantly speaking shit about yourself. And surprisingly, for a lot of you, what other people are speaking about you has a huge effect on your life. So it's not just like, for me, when I was growing up, people were already thinking of me as less than because of my being adopted, being in the foster care system, being older when I got adopted, etc., etc. People kind of already had this idea about me that I wasn't going to amount to shit. And every time I turned around, I was made to feel like I wasn't going to amount to shit. Because even though my adopted mother wasn't speaking those exact words to me, she could never really just see you in something, right? It's like there was always that's great, you did a good job, but you could do this better. And so like I kind of got this like constant feeling of I was never good enough. And eventually, after trying for so many fucking years to be good enough, I finally just didn't give a shit anymore. I figured I'm never gonna get there anyway, so what the fuck does it matter, right? And then I gave up on life, basically. I literally lost all spark, and I never realized that you can't live too many years without having that spark that lights you up, because you're gonna die. You're gonna fizzle out and fucking die. It literally will start to decay your body by you not having any passion, no purpose in life. You will eventually deteriorate if you do not find some purpose within your life. Or you might go the other route and just yourself. So, words are huge, okay? Each and every language is huge, and every single culture, you will see this. Hinduism and the evil eye, right? And Christians with the calling out somebody else's shit, when you have that calling out somebody's speck in their eye when you have a 2x4 in your own, right? Because even in Christianity, we know that our words have power. That's why in the Bible it says, you know, you can do all things through my name. So the idea was that Jesus was saying, like, anytime you said Jesus Christ for something, it will work. And it really does work, by the way. If you ever just need to be able to say something quick and you don't know what to say, so you just need to say something, just say, in the name of Jesus Christ. And whatever is going to happen is going to stop, right? Whatever was happening is going to stop. So I used to do this when I had bad dreams, because I used to have extreme nightmares, night terrors when I was young. And I was taught that if I woke up and I said a quick prayer and said, like, in Jesus' name, my dreams will no longer be like this, they wouldn't. And it worked. It really did. And the same is true now, but you don't have to say Jesus Christ, right? In order to say, get an entity away from you. You don't have to use Jesus Christ in order to get that demon or entity away. All you have to say is, I don't consent to you being within my energetic space, my house, my car, etc., whatever you want to say. I do not consent. Leave now. I banish you. And if you do not follow through with what I'm asking you to do, commanding you to do, then I will banish you into the realm that you need to go back into. And that's going to scare them, and they're just going to fucking boosh right out of your fucking life. Wee. No, they're going to come back and they're going to test you unless you say, I banish you permanently. But you have to believe the shit too, because if you don't believe, you're risking part 2. if you don't believe in what you're speaking, then that falls into free will. Free will is in with our self-worth. Like, we can consciously give away our free will by people pleasing and stuff like that, and we can unconsciously give away our free will by not believing in ourselves, by repeating patterns that we don't even know are patterns, that are just looping over and over again because of some kind of belief from some type of trauma or story, some sort of narrative that somebody has expressed to you over and over again, that you eventually adopted as the truth. Like me feeling like I would never be worthy enough. So we all know that idea of that saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And boy, did we like say that shit out of that in school, right? When we were little fucking preteens who thought we knew everything, right? But what we all came to realize in adulthood is that it was the opposite, right? Because you could heal quickly from sticks and stones. But a lot of times when you are continuously being told something, you adopt it for the truth, and you believe that then eventually for yourself. But going back with like the entities and stuff like that, and collapsing timelines and integrating our shadow into our being that we want to eventually reach. So integrating our lower selves in with the selves that we have, the self that we are now, and then that those lower selves and the self that you are now, that you have, done this process of changing and going back to who you are, you become one with those things, and then as you keep going, you keep collapsing the lower timelines into the one that you're currently on. But the other huge thing that I just like really want to get out there, and I do for so many reasons, because like, I don't know if many of you would even know this, but typically when you're growing up, you're in like one type of cultural or economic situation, right? Like your parents don't usually end up being poor and then end up being rich right away, right? You know what I mean? I have been in every type of economic situation in my life. I grew up with literally a prostitute as a mother, as my birth mother, and a drug dealer for my dad. Both almost always addicted to some type of drug. And I was a fail to thrive baby, which I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's like literally a baby that doesn't get any type of love or attention. Like, imagine having a baby and just like popping that baby out and just setting it in the room somewhere and just kind of like forgetting about it for God knows how long. Yeah. One of my birth sisters was sold for $100. And that was after one entire fucking week sitting in a dresser drawer. In a dresser drawer. And this is coming straight from my birth mother's mouth when those two reunited for the first time after she became a young adult. And then from there, I was in a few different foster homes that were like, you know, middle class, well-to-do, but not anything like millionaire type of way. But I went from like literally crack houses to suburban life, you know, and that even turned into my adoptive parents, who were very young when they adopted me. I was 11 and my adoptive mother was 14 years older than me. That was actually my birth mother's age as well, 14 years older than me. But then they were like starting out because they were so young. So they didn't have a lot of money at first. So we were in like low income apartments and stuff. But that was only for the first few years that I was with them. And then we like jumped from that to a parsonage and pretty much having a very nice life. And from that, literally being a virgin, never really having a boyfriend or anything like that, I literally got into a fight with my parents and moved out within 10 minutes and moved in with him. And then it was like figuring out life for myself. And even him and I had a decently good life, you know? And then it just kind of like fluctuated from there, you know? Like I was living good for a while here and there, and then like I'd go down and like lose everything and then have to come back up. So I've been in every type of situation, and I have seen pretty much every single type of an individual on this planet. And I'm not fucking around when I'm saying this. Like, I was literally almost murdered 4 or 5 times just from the ages of, 2 till I was 8 that I can remember. So who knows how many other times things happened to me that I didn't even fucking remember. And I'm talking like literally there were people that came in and out of, like my habitat, wherever I was at, either with my grandmother or with my mom or my dad or whatever. But there were these pedophiles that literally hated girls. And me being a stupid little kid, I thought it was like, oh, they don't like girls, I'm gonna, spread my cooties on them or whatever. And so I'd go over and fuck around and like poke them and whatnot. And I was literally almost smothered several different times by this man. And, it's crazy. But anyway, my point is, I've been and seen like everything, right? Every type of individual, no matter how horrible you think a person is, like I've seen it, and I've been able to love them through whatever crazy fucking psychotic shit that they are, or that they're doing, that they're expressing. And I have always been the type of person that can be okay with anything. I don't give a fuck what you do or what you've done, as long as you can look at me and say, I recognize the behavior and how I need to change it. I'm not saying you need to change it right then and there, because we all know that that's not really possible, especially when these are deep-rooted. But as long as you can recognize and be aware of a certain type of behavior, there's hope for you. And I've always known that, and I've always felt that, and I still do to this day. But when I say that people aren't even willing to look at these behaviors within themselves and see that these things are a problem, that they needed changed or molding or, worked on. Fuck. They don't want to look at it, and they don't want to see it, and that's why they can't change. That's why there's no power coming. So since we're all pretty much aware that it was actually the opposite. That the sticks and stones breaking our bones would have been probably 10 times better than the insultful bullying that we went through that is literally still eating away at most of us to this day, right? We can see how other people's words have power over our lives just as much as our own. And we have just as much power over somebody else's life just as much as their own, depending on, well, no matter what. But so we want to start looking at what we're doing with this power, right? And not only that, but becoming aware in the times of these things happening, of these little things creeping up on you and making you feel a little bit of self-doubt or something like that. When you start to become aware of those things and you take a few seconds to pause and say, man, my husband not cleaning up his crap all over the fucking bedroom makes me feel like he doesn't care about me. It makes me feel like I am being ignored. It makes me feel like I am invisible, because no matter how many times I ask him to keep his stuff picked up, he just doesn't listen to me, and he just constantly fucking leaves his shit everywhere, right? Well, in those periods of time when we're thinking these types of things, and we become aware of us thinking these types of things, I challenge you to take a few seconds to stop that narrative altogether, okay? Just stop that narrative. Stop saying those things, okay? Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it can be a lot when somebody doesn't clean up after themselves and you end up having to get stuck doing it all, right? Just take a second and don't start automatically projecting out those self-limiting beliefs in your own self, and then also projecting negativity onto your husband because you're frustrated with him in the moment, and just say, okay, he didn't pick up his stuff, and I don't need to try to calculate why he didn't pick up his stuff and why it's the 20th million time that he hasn't picked up his stuff and what that means about me, because quite frankly, most of the time it doesn't mean shit about you, even though you feel like it does. It feels like he doesn't care. It feels like you're not good enough to listen to. It feels like he's trying to do this shit to fucking aggravate you on purpose. But most likely he's not. Most likely he just fucking is a man and forgot, or just thought that he would get time to get back there and clean it before you said anything or whatever, and before you got frustrated. And then, so now you're understanding that he's a human, and humans do things that irritate others, but it doesn't mean that means they ultimately hate us, right? And then we need to say to ourselves, I love myself enough to understand that his issues are his issues, and my issues are my issues. Take a moment to say, I don't consent to any narrative of low self-worth. I don't consent to feeling isolation or being unheard. I now command that this energy be sent away from me and my home and my family, from all of our energetic systems, and be banished, never to come back into our timelines again, unless it prepares us for a better, higher self. And if this energy decides not to listen to my commands, then I will call judgment on it. But believe the things you're saying. Like, you wouldn't say, if that motherfucker puts his hands on my kid again, I'll chop every single one of his fingers off. And then that motherfucker went ahead and did that thing to your child again, and you just laughed about it. Like, you wouldn't do that. If you say something, you better fucking mean it. Like, usually, there's a reason behind saying something, right? So put that power behind those words and mean it. And it will happen. Whenever you feel anxious, say, just because I feel this doesn't mean it's my own. What else? Part 4 on using our words to facilitate healing and growth, because words are power. So, and I think it also challenges our perspective on things when actually getting to understand words and their power. So, you might have grown up in a religious family and hear the idea of Satan or demons, and maybe you've never seen a demon, and you haven't had any personal experience with it, but you do feel like they're real, and obviously you would want to kind of stay away from anything that could be a demon, right? Like, even though you haven't had any personal experience with it, the ideas that you've been taught create a certain feeling and resistance for that thing within your own body, right? And I think things like this is where our perceptions on reality can get twisted, and we can remain stuck from experiencing a lot of greater awareness when we have fear of these things, because when you have fear of those things, you want to stay away from them. So that fear is always going to be there, because you're going to constantly try to stay away from it, staying away from it, right? But what if you didn't? What if you went towards it and started talking to it? What if you started feeling anxious, and instead of automatically feeling like you need to get that feeling to go away and repress it, what if you call that out and say, hey, anxiety, what are you doing here? What's going on? Should we have a talk? Why is this happening? Like, what is going on in my environment that my body doesn't appreciate? Or if you have paranoia, say you constantly feel like somebody's following you, Instead of automatically running to the psych hospital and saying, I need to freaking be committed, why not say, paranoia? What's going on? What's the issue? What's the core root issue? Why do you feel like you need to be here right now? What is making you feel unsafe? Who is making you feel unsafe? And then we need to address the way that paranoia is manifesting because of some core problem, issue, or circumstance. And maybe it's not something like paranoia, but maybe it's like you can't stop getting yourself into toxic relationships, right? Tara, what is going on within you that makes you feel like this is the only type of relationship that you deserve? I specifically remember after my awakening and I was like really getting into spiritual things and joining different communities and stuff, I kept seeing people who work with certain deities or certain, whatevers, right? And there were people that were working with darker, from like mythology and stuff like that, darker manifestations. So, for instance, Lilith being the female demon, people were using Lilith as a form of like religion. So like they worshipped Lilith, or you might hear like somebody's deity. Well, they pray to that deity, they offer that deity food and stuff like that in order to get that deity's love, comfort, and expressions of that love and comfort, right? I kept trying to figure that out, like something wasn't sitting right with me, and I'm like, what are people doing? Like, they're worshiping these things as if those things are God in themselves. I wasn't understanding it until I started realizing that every single thing that you can think of is the spirit of something. So, chairs, there's a spirit behind the chairs. There's tree spirits, there's rose spirits, there's hat spirits, and you can actually intend to start to be aware within your own self of these different spirits by saying like, okay, I want to feel what it's like to be a spirit of a hat, and I want to feel what it's like to be a hat. I can start to become aware of that. I can start to feel into it. I can start doing some breath work while thinking about it, and you can take on what it feels like to be the spirit of the hat. Just like you can take on the spirit of Satan. You can take on the spirit of a narcissist by being in a relationship with a narcissist for so many years. You can take on the spirit of a narcissist after living with a narcissist who is a parent. Okay? Are you understanding what I'm putting out there? Because this is very important, and it has the ability to be completely life-changing in every way possible if you could just get this concept within your whole body. If you can truly understand what I'm putting out to you in all of its depth, then you can change your life. Because that's all this is. This world that we live in is just to be able to experience in all the different senses, all the different spirits. If you can understand this, and you start putting this into practice and you start becoming aware of what it feels like to be different spirits of maybe different objects, and then get a little bit bigger by being able to become aware of what it feels like to be a certain religion, because they're all formulated from you and I, from people that have lived before us. These all came into being because somebody believed in something, right? And if you can think about a time in your life where your environment was very toxic, if you can think back to a time and say which you were in a bad relationship with that person, and maybe you had a child that lived with you and you three were living in that house that toxicity was happening in, and it was growing because you were there longer and longer and longer, you can also start to understand that these things become entities. The anger and hostility and toxicness of that situation you were in during that time frame became its own entity, because you guys feeling whatever you were feeling towards each other generated enough angry, toxic energy to make that thing a thing. And now there's this entity following you from that time in that relationship that was toxic for all those years, and it's just basically attached to your fucking shadow. So Tara, how can talking to anxiety or paranoia or the devil or a demon or whatever negative behavior you are exhibiting in your life, how can talking to these things actually help us and put us on track to get the things that we desire? Well, when you actually put this into practice and start becoming aware of each and every thing's consciousness, or whatever it is that they feel like, their feeling, their essence, whatever, when you start to put into practice being able to actually tune in to every separate thing and get that feeling, get that understanding of what that thing is made up of, you'll be able to do this with not just objects, but ideas and mind spaces and different feelings that a person can feel. You can actually tune into them and feel them at any time. What else? Whatever it is that you're dealing with, you can actually tune in and get what that thing is, its feeling, its essence, whatever that is. You'll be able to feel it as if it's you, right? So when this happens and you've gotten to that point and you're good at it now, you can say then tune into what sadness is, or what anger is, or whatever. You can literally end up being consumed with that emotion in order to feel it at its extreme, right? And we can now see how every entity, mythological creature, everything like that has ever been thought up actually is an entity within itself. And that entity can then manifest in particular ways in the physical 3D world, right? So, for instance, if you go back into that relationship that you were with when you were with that narcissist, or your parents that were a narcissist and you were in childhood, you know, if you go back to that time and the years that that thing was happening with that person, right? And how that became an entity in itself, because all of the people within that situation, that dynamic, were generating those feelings, those emotions, blah, blah, blah. That energy that was all being generated then becomes one big fucking colossal fuck. And you end up having that colossal fuck attached to your actual being, your shadow, your body, whatever have you. It shows up differently in different people. So, for instance, you might not never notice anything about this entity until you get triggered by a certain word or a certain phrase or a certain thing that is happening to you in your life. And then all of a sudden, that entity jumps right out into the front and is like, whoa, wait the fuck up. Let me stop this for a minute. There's no fucking way I'm going to be treated this way. Wah! You know what I mean? And then that entity comes to the front and it's shown like, oh, fuck. I didn't realize that person was capable of that thing. You know what I mean? And so we are all made up of essentially bits and pieces of all kinds of different spirits, right? And the whole point of enlightenment is to get to the point where you realize that nothing is evil because everything is you, and you're not evil, right? I know I'm not Satan, but I'm also Satan because I have the ability to become satanic. Or I know I'm not a demon, but I have the ability to act like a demon at times. You know? You get what I'm saying? Like, you're not anxiety, but you get anxiety at times. You're not sad, but you feel sadness. We are all made up of all of these different spirits. And that's the point of this life, is we get to experience all the spirits. So instead of being afraid of your demons or afraid of demons that are in the shadows, call them forward. Say, hey, I feel this weird feeling. Who is that? What is that? What did you need to show me? What are you trying to express to make me become aware of this thing or that thing or the way that I'm feeling inside? And when you start to talk to these things aloud, or, you know, even in your mind, you start to realize there's really nothing to fear at all other than fear itself, because there's no such thing of anything outside of you that can harm you unless you have fear. Because fear keeps you from going forward and experiencing all the things. So then once you're at that point, you can sit down and have a conversation with your demons. The things that you know are keeping you from experiencing the things that you want to experience in life. So say you have anxiety, you have depression, you have UTI problems. You can bring each and every one of those things in to your awareness, begin talking with them, ask them why they're showing up in your life, and they'll give you the answer. And then you can say, okay, well, let's make a, negotiation, and you can tell me what you feel like you need in order to stop feeling the need to express paranoia. Tell me what it is that you're afraid of, and I'll work with you with that, but you have to integrate. You can no longer be separate. You're no longer a separate spirit. You are me within me, and we're going to work together. And when you start working together with all the things that you feel is wrong with you, when you start working together with all the things that you think is wrong with everyone else, that's when change happens. Because you have to remember that everything outside of you is actually you. We are all made up of the same exact spirits. We're just presenting the spirits in different ways. We are all the same. Our physical avatars are all made up of the same thing. It's just we look different on the outside because of the things that we're made up with might have different amounts of those spirits within us, which makes us present differently in the 3D world. But we're all the same. And once we realize that, that's when we can actually turn the tides and put the missing pieces in that spirit that's missing that piece of essence in them. So say you have the spirit of anxiety within you, but it's showing up in this weird way in the physical world because it still needs 3% of this thing in order to make it whole. So that's what you do. You're negotiating with these spirits in order to give them what they feel that they need in order to make yourself fucking whole. So if we change our perspective just a little on things, certain topics, things that we've always been told are evil or bad, instead of just going by what you're told with everything, start doing some research different things, research words, research the real meaning behind each and every word, and see how just the meanings of each individual word in one sentence can change the entire direction of that sentence. You start to understand that things that you've been told are a certain way actually really aren't that way at all, and we've been mind-fucked into believing things are evil or wrong when they're the very keys to your success. They're the very keys to getting the things that you've ever desired in life. And the universe wants to give you everything you've ever desired, as long as you don't have any greedy or fearful intentions behind those things. So, for instance, say you've gone through 3 months of just non-stop hell, right? Like, you've just experienced non-stop stress during 3 months. And you get to the end of this 3 months, maybe you get a few extra dollars or something like that. Or maybe you need to pay your water bill, but you put a small payment on it because you didn't really have any money. But one night, after all that stress in 3 months, you're sitting there like, I just really need to have a drink. I know that having a drink will help me decompress and be able to relax a little bit in order to feel okay. And you don't really have a lot of money, but somebody hands you $20. Yeah, you could put that $20 on the water bill, right? Or you could take that $20 and go get a couple of drinks to help yourself feel okay in that moment. And it wasn't a $20 that you already had. Somebody gifted it to you. So perhaps that's the universe gifting you $20 so that you can take a little bit of time to yourself and relax, to decompress, right? But say you never pay your bills and you're always late on all of your bills and you're constantly drinking, it's becoming an issue, and you get 20 unexpected dollars. Maybe that's not the universe telling you should take that $20 and go drink some more, you know? So it's like a little bit of something is never a problem. You can use as tools anything that your mind can think of until the intentions behind using that said thing becomes ill-intentioned for somebody else. When you are being consumed by greedy intentions or, fear-based intentions, if you're thinking, for instance, I have a boyfriend and I know I'm never, ever, ever going to get another boyfriend like him. I have to have him. There's no way if he leaves me, I'll ever be able to survive. That's an intention of fear, and the universe is going to give you more fear. It's going to keep making you feel as if your feelings are validated because you are feeling fear, and so the universe is just going to continue giving you fear. But if you understand that everything is eventually going to end, and you just enjoy the time that you have with your boyfriend while you have it and actually want to be there and do the work, chances are you not needing that person is going to change everything about that relationship. You're never gonna feel as if you have to do this thing or that thing or that thing in order to keep that person, because things are eventually going to end, so there's no reason to keep that person. You're just enjoying the time that you have together. And you can smoke a little bit of weed and it not be a problem, but when you are becoming consumed with the need to smoke, that's when there's an issue. Everything that we've been given or ever created is for us to experience and enjoy. The world that is created, this world and universe that we live in, your universe, is there for you to experience all that there is to experience. And everything that you want to experience, the universe wants you to be able to experience. So it's going to try to get you to experience those things. But it's only our own perceptions of life that fuck us up, that keep us from experience all that there is that is good. And just like, yes, there are some evil people on earth, that doesn't make them evil. They are participating in something that we've deemed evil, and perhaps their intentions right now are evil. But how do you know that that evil person that's doing that evil thing wasn't exactly what Toby needed in Indiana when he came across that person, and something about that person or something that that person had done to him changed his life completely around, and he ended up becoming the CEO of a company that saves every single child, no matter what abuse they're going through. So you can even understand in that way how nothing is evil. And words are power, because words put in certain contexts make us feel and believe certain things, because those people that are trying to make us believe those certain things don't want us to know how powerful we are. They don't want us to know all that there is to experience, all that there is to live. Everything that you've ever heard of is true. It's reality. There is that thing, and you have the ability to experience it if you believe in yourself. But if you don't believe in yourself, you give the world and all those that are in the world power over you. Power over your mind, power over your beliefs, power over your words, power over your actions. Literally, you no longer are being able to say you have a free will when you give your free will away to everyone else, because you believe everything that's outside of you has more power over you. And I know it sounds like I'm just going around in circles and around in circles, but that's because it goes around in circles. Every concept, everything has different layers and depths to it. It has different facets of each and everything, just like each and every person has different facets to themselves. Everything is meant to us. Everything is meant for us. Everything is good. It just depends on the intentions behind each thing. Another good way to express this is you get into a relationship with somebody because of trauma. So you're constantly sending your partner texts and stuff saying, hey, where are you? What are you doing? This and that. But that's making them feel like you don't trust them, that you don't believe that they're faithful. And that subconsciously is leaving a wound within them, subconsciously, that they can't be trusted. You didn't mean to do that. You were anxious. You thought you weren't good enough. And therefore, you created yet another wound in not only your partner, but you also created yet a deeper wound in yourself because you created that wound in your partner, your relationship started to unravel and you guys broke up, and then you are left and now not. So when I'm saying nothing in this world is evil or bad or meant for you not to experience, what I'm trying to express is the only basic rule that the universe has for us is that we live in balance, not only in our own physical vessels, but in our mental spaces and in our spiritual spaces, but also how we show up in life in the 3D. So balance within your relationships, balance within your work, play, and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what is going on, you need to be able to find balance within those things, or else the universe is going to make you find balance by fucking your life up so bad that you have to get it. You have to, like, basically start from scratch to get your life back into balance. Now, that's not always as drastic. So say, for instance, you're showing up balanced in all areas of your life except for your partner. You and your partner aren't giving to each other equally or even close to equally. So the universe might just come in and start fucking up your relationship, you know? Making you either balance that relationship or get the fuck out of it and move on to a different equal give and take partnership, you know? And that's why I say a little bit of this is never bad. A little bit of that is never bad. That thing, no matter how evil you may perceive it to be because of your doctrines and beliefs that you've grown up with, that thing isn't evil, but the intentions that you're bringing in while doing that thing or using that thing is what kind of balances whether or not, you know, you're falling on iffy whatever, you know. So, for instance, like, if I am super depressed and I just don't know how to find any joy in my life, and the only thing that I think is going to help soothe my body and my mind and all that is doing drugs or drinking alcohol. And I almost have to have drugs or alcohol in order to be okay, in order to feel normal, in order to function, then that obviously isn't something that we should be doing, because that's not balanced. It's not even close to balance. So it's gonna get bad, right? But you also have to understand that we have masculine and feminine parts within us. All people have these parts within you. And so, yeah, you might be a woman like me, but depending on your birth chart, you have masculine characteristics and expressions. And if we are trying to get through life and be the expected female, do the things that a female should do, and all of that good stuff that we've been taught is the correct way, and so we're trying to go about life being the correct version of our adult self by being the perfect wife or mother or whatever, while repressing your masculine characteristics and features, well, then at some point, the universe is going to shake your shit up, So, for instance, I'll give you an example, because I'm very guilty of this. I can't really tell you when I knew. I can remember being about almost 19 and going into a dressing room with my best friend at Old Navy. And she and I were, in the fitting room getting changed into this, outfits we wanted to try on or whatever. And I specifically remember thinking, this doesn't feel right. I shouldn't be looking at her. And I was, raised from the time I got adopted, from 11 to 19, I was still living with them. Well, almost 19. I was raised that, my adopted dad was a pastor. My adopted mother was also a youth pastor, a teacher. They're very, very Christian. And bisexual wasn't even a thing. Like, it wasn't something that was talked about. I knew, one person that was a lesbian, and I didn't even know them. It was just, somebody I knew. It was their aunt, and I've seen them, 3 times. Seriously, I didn't really know what sex was. I didn't know what cum was at 19. Literally the first time that my first husband came on me, I freaked the fuck out. And I can just remember that moment thinking, I shouldn't look at her because I like what I'm seeing, right? But not in a, I shouldn't look at her because I like the way that she looks, because I know that that's evil and not Christian, but it was more of, I am attracted to her, and she thinks because I'm a girl, I wouldn't be attracted to her, so I need to be careful not to look at her. But again, I didn't really even express the need to want to be with females until almost the end of my first marriage. And even then, my husband at the time didn't like the idea that I liked girls. He got jealous, you know what I mean? And it wasn't really something that, obviously he would want to be with 2 girls at once, but I don't think he was willing to put himself in that position in order to have me be able to experience that. And so, after I got divorced, literally immediately, I joined a swingers website and started participating in other couples, and I would join in. And honestly, it really balanced me out. I really enjoyed being able to experience both of my desires at the same time. And I wasn't actually in a swingers thingy for very long. I was only in the swingers association for about a year before I met my second husband. But during that time, like, I got to experience being with girls and I loved it and blah, 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 blah. But now, ever since I've been married to my second husband, which is we totally just missed our 14th anniversary. I haven't been with a girl, and so I haven't been balancing those aspects of me out, and it's becoming a problem. It's becoming so much of a problem that the universe is constantly giving me the message that I need to get my shit together. I need to be able to figure out what I want and what I desire and be able to express that and not feel like that makes me bad. Yes, while your I am presence is significant, doing that alone is not going to help you get the life that you are desiring. As much as you are speaking with that I am presence, you need to also incorporate these other ones as one statement that goes along with each of your main chakras. So you have the I am presence for the root, and you create a statement that goes along with your I am presence. So for instance, mine is, I am free to shift into peace and calm energy whenever I desire. Because I'm no longer living with a lack mentality. Your sacral chakra is I feel peace knowing the universe has my back. Your solar plexus is the I do statement. I do not chase, I attract. Your heart is I love. I love every cell within my human body, and I appreciate this gift. And my cells love me. For your throat chakra, it is I speak. I speak my truth and I establish my boundaries. And the third eye chakra is I see abundance and truth all around me without fear or greed. And last but not least is your crown chakra, the knowing, and that is I understand. I understand that every single thing that happens is happening for me and not against me. For me and not to me. It's a blessing within the lesson. So, of course, start using your I am commands, but also realize that each main chakra has its own statement to start incorporating in order to start seeing that change in your life that you have always known is possible. Any person, place, thing, entity, or energy that is not operating within and without giving and receiving unconditional love is no longer allowed near me as I command. My soul's true essence of unconditional love, they will no longer be close to or within my energy or life force until they are living in unconditional love as well as giving and receiving that unconditional love. Now, as I speak, so it shall be as I command. I reclaim my power, my energy, my life force now because I am. I reclaim my energy fully and wholly now
because I am. My energy is now fully, wholly coming back to me now with all cords, ties, attachments, latches, bondages, soul suckers, mind controllers, spells, or mimicking will be cut, broken, dispersed, and sent away now as I command, with their roots, their wounds, their cuts, their bruises, and their self-doubt, curses, and spells plucked, plunged, purged, and changed fully, truly, and wholly into unconditional love, life force energy, taking what I need to fill and seal my aura and outer energy field now. And helping to heal the places, spaces that allowed them to take or stick to my energy. Helping to heal the places, spaces that allowed them to take and stick to my energy in the first place. As I command now. I reclaim my energy now that I gave away on purpose, and I reclaim my energy now that I gave away on accident. I reclaim all of my energy that has left me now, and I seal my energy with the light from the sun. Anything that is not for my soul's highest and greatest divine soul, path, and purpose will burst into flames if it even attempts to get close to my energy. To my energy being completely transformed, to my energy being completely transformed into unconditional love. Whatever I am not needing will be sent back to the sender or given out freely to those who need more now. Any energy that I've been carrying on the same path with, attached to, consumed by, or bonding to that is not my own or destined to be with my soul's journey at this time will be removed, transmuted, and sent back, aligned, attuned, and with love attached for the highest, greatest good of all and harm to none. As I command, it is now. All of my inner, middle, and outer energy fields are grounded, cleansed, purged, plucked, attuned, and aligned, along with centered within my soul's divine soul mission and that of the highest and greatest good for all and harm to none. As I command, so it is. So shall it be. So shall it be. So shall it be. As I command, so shall it is. Tara Lynn, July 8th, 2023. The day after the 777 portal. So mote it be, so mote it be, so mote it be, so shall it is.